Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Zachary Bell, your favorite veteran with a sign, and welcome to another episode of the After Action podcast. Today's guest is none other than the TikTok sensation, Preston Stewart. If you've been following any war in the past year, you've seen Preston. We spent some time talking about what it's like going to real-life Hogwarts, a.k.a. West Point, serving in the military, and then how he got into this new space where he's basically the subject matter expert of all things foreign affairs. Please welcome to the show my next guest, Preston Stewart. This episode is sponsored by Medical. Every veteran deserves respect, competency, and clarity when pursuing a disability claim. Of course, we all know the frustration is much more common. If you're looking for a better path and documentation that strengthens your disability rating request, start with our sponsor, Medical. Re's team of professionals work with a network of experienced physicians, and they've already provided meaningful medical evidence for more than 25,000 veterans. And while they can't guarantee what the VA will decide, 95%, let me say that again, 95% of their clients reported receiving a disability rating of 70% or higher. That's because when you connect with Medical, they take the time to explain your options before you pay for anything. Free consultations. So don't give up on a stalled process or settle for an unfavorable decision from the VA. Cut through the frustration with accurate medical evidence and a streamlined approach that allows you to pursue your claim confidently. Head over to remedical.com, that's Romeo Echo Echo medical.com to book your free consultation. Check out our link in the podcast section for more details. Okay, welcome to the show. The one, the only, the amazing, maybe my favorite officer ever.
Oh, that means
Preston
a lot.
Stewart.
Appreciate it, Zach. Good to be here.
Yeah. Oh, God, your voice. I love it. Yeah. See, if you get in a Blasco sign, you're in.
Make me blush.
Oh, give it time. No, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming out, and I just want to take the time to talk about you. You're the information king of TikTok. You're the historian, military expert. I mean, it's not me. This is what the streets say.
That's the street, yeah.
Yeah. And you live so close. You live so close. I didn't know forever. Like, you're literally 30 minutes. You know, we're going to put your address up real quick.
Perfect.
How close you are
to
to me. But you're just down the road, and I'm so grateful to be here. I just want to take some time to talk about you, what you're doing, and yeah, man, thank you so much.
Let's do it, man. This will be fun.
Okay, where does the story of Preston Stewart begin? Where are you from?
Originally from Champaign, Illinois. So I'm oldest of four boys. Grew up in Champaign, went off to high school in Indiana, boarding school. And then from there, kind of as life sits today, went on to West Point in the Army.
Okay, we're going to less than a minute in, and we talked about West Point hitting, you guys have to do that, right?
No. It has to be within 15 minutes. That was a little faster than expected, yeah.
Oh, well, that's what she said. So, no, what is life like in Champaign, Illinois? Paint a picture for me. I don't know. I have a real kind of, rapscallion, childhood. I was just a bad kid. I've tried to come up with fancy ways to describe it, but I was just, scrappy is what we'll say.
So Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois, right in the middle of the state, surrounded by cornfields. It was good, about 130,000 people there. My parents both grew up in Champaign-Urbana. Grew up in Urbana, actually, so twin cities. So both my grandparents were in town, aunts, uncles, cousins. Everybody was right there.
Big family?
Grew up, pretty big family.
Yeah.
On my mom's side, her brother was not in Urbana at the time. He lived overseas.
Okay.
And then with his kids. But then my dad's family, he had a brother and a sister both in town with kids. So big family get-togethers. Birthdays were always a big event. All that stuff.
I like that.
Yeah, it was good.
I like that. So, like, what'd you do for fun growing up around there?
A lot of sports.
A lot of sports?
Yeah. In the summer it was golf, baseball. Winter was hockey. Those were kind of the main ones.
Those are the main ones?
Yeah.
Are you good at golf?
I've had some good stretches before. Yeah, played through high school.
Yeah.
Was on the team for a while.
Okay.
Haven't played now in a while, though.
Okay, so you're good. You played on a team.
Yeah. Got after it for a while.
Nothing. I've always had this dream that if I could go back in time and do anything to my younger self, one of the things I would do for sure is, like, find 10-year-old me and just, like, punch him and just, like, literally walk up to him and just be like, psh, and give him a golf club. Be like, you can do this forever. Like, just do that.
Dude, pros and cons. Like, yes, you start learning young. It's easier. It's like riding a bike. You know, you kind of get the the motions of the swing down. But dude, you can get addicted to that fast, and it can eat a lot of time. One of the reasons I haven't been able to play a lot recently is to get out. I mean, it's 4, 5, 6 hours.
Yes.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's never ending. There's always another course to play.
Yes.
If you've already played that course, then you haven't played it this winter. You haven't played it from the tips. You haven't played it with the new clubs.
What do you mean the tips? What do you mean?
The tips, like the furthest back, the tee box that's the furthest
That's
back.
that's how meta it gets?
Yeah, so you can play, there might be on a course, you'll have the women's tees or the juniors tees, the seniors tees, the men's tees, and the championship tees. And it changes the dynamic of the course.
Okay.
So it's never ending. So there's always more to be done. And then, every single shot you hit is different. It can be consuming.
What's the best part of your game?
Oh, man. It varied. When I was playing well, the best part was the short game, but that was never really the strength. Probably mid to long irons at times.
Really?
Yeah.
I see. My stepdad he taught me how to play golf, and so like I'm only good at the tee box. I hit it like Happy Gilmore, but then I get to a green, it looks horrible to me. Everybody's like, read the green. I'm like, it just slants. I don't know what that means. I could never do it.
I remember reading a book growing up because I'd read about golf too and watch golf and all that stuff. And there was a book where a guy talked about how they wouldn't putt. They'd hit the green and they'd pick up their ball, add 2 strokes, move on to the next because they said putting's not fair.
Really?
I kind of like that.
I kind of like that too. Is that allowed?
That's the other thing. There's all these different games. You can play however you want, play with different people, and set your own rules.
And you obviously haven't had the time lately because you're a husband and a father, so that golf goes out the window for the overwhelming majority of people.
Kind of narrow down the hobbies and the things you can spend your time on. I wish that I could still play as much golf as I had in the past. Mm-hmm. In previous jobs, there were times where with either other businesses or through our business, we'd have outings and events like that. That's not happening, so it's just cut it down. Spend time doing other things now.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly, I wish I'd thought of it, but when I see Top Golf, I'm like, dude, they're just printing money. I remember when I heard about it. It's like bowling, but golf. It's the best part of golf. Just crush it. Hit as far as you can. We're gonna bring some pretzel bites by. Got some drinks coming through. Hey, can we help you? You just like, oh, you want to hit it that color? That's cool. That's fun. Swipe your card and go. It's the smartest thing I've ever seen.
We were there a couple weeks ago in Denver for a wedding. And they had before the wedding, kind of a little event at Top Golf. And something that's underappreciated, I think, is that they adjust the scoring as you go.
What do you mean?
So, like, if you have somebody that's PGA Tour level and then a beginner, they adjust
me
the
and
scoring.
You. Okay, yeah.
They adjust the scoring so that the beginners' points, they make more points for the same shot as the PGA Pro. So, like, as you get playing in the game, we would watch people on the screen, and, like, the first round, it'd be skewed. The good players would have all the points, the bad players would have none. But then as the computer, like, adjusts, so then it comes down closer to equal, if that makes sense.
See, everyone talks trash about AI, but, like, see, it's golf AI. It's golf AI. It's not that bad.
It makes it fun for everybody, right? Because then even the worst player has the chance at winning the game.
Yeah. Well, what I like the most about it is that I can take my whole family and they enjoy. Honestly, it's the best part. You just, hey, hit that ball as hard as you can. And as opposed to being like, I'm going to go off and with like golf for like 4 hours. Y'all stay here or whatever. That's hard to like, get approval from higher misses with a sign as opposed to anyone else. But we went there for my birthday and I was like, dude, this is just like the smartest thing I've ever seen. They even got like an Angry Birds integration.
I saw that.
Yeah, this show is sponsored by Topgolf. To find out more, go to Topgolf. I'm just kidding. They don't need sponsors. They don't need any advertisements here. They're doing okay.
Always packed.
Every time. I love it. So you're playing golf. Hockey, what do you do there?
Yeah. So there's more hockey in Illinois than there is in Tennessee. Not a lot. You got to get up near Chicago for a lot of the rinks. I just liked it. We had some guys playing like street hockey, rollerblades, things like that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And found out there was a local team. We had one sheet of ice.
Yeah.
And it was good. I loved that. That was my sport. That prompted me to want to look. I thought I'd be able to play into the future, into college and things like that. So
What position?
I was a right wing.
Okay.
So forward. And
you're trying to score.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And because of that, so in Champaign, one rink, one team, you'd practice once a week and play a game.
Yeah.
Not very many sports when you're growing up, if you practice once a week, are you really going to move on to the next level?
I don't know.
So
Maybe.
maybe. So I wanted to look for other places to be able to play, and because of that, I then went to a boarding school in Indiana to try to kind of pursue this hockey thing.
What?
Be able to play in college. Yeah.
You went to a boarding school?
I did. Yeah. Culver Academy.
For how long?
3 years, sophomore through senior year.
You're like an onion. I love this. It's so deceitful, the layers you have. Okay, so you're obviously pretty good at hockey because you went to a boarding school, unless it was disciplinary.
No, it was
everything goes through my bad child filter. Like it's
we
just
had a
like,
couple disciplinary kids there, but for the most part, it was
no. Like there were example when I was in elementary school, they pulled me aside and they're like, "Mr. Bell, we can no longer spank you, so you have to go home for detention." Like the principal told me that, and he was like, "This country," like he was so upset, and I was like, "Cool, man, you're not gonna spank me anymore." It is crazy that strangers would spank children at school. Yeah. When you think about it, it's kind of weird.
Right.
But yeah, so that's my filter of life is like, oh, well, he must have been a troublemaker. No, you were good at stuff. So you're at, what's it called?
It's called Culver Academy.
Culver Academy.
Indiana, yeah.
What's that like? Uniforms? Walk me through it.
Yeah, so it was broken down into two. There's about 700 people at the school, Northern Indiana. It was broken down into a boys' school and a girls' school. Classes are the same and all that stuff. But it was Culver Military Academy and Culver Girls Academy.
Okay.
While I was there, they changed the naming to where it's just Culver Academies now. But you wear a military uniform. You wear a uniform.
Nice.
Kind of looks military-ish.
Okay.
And you'd march around a little bit. Kind of some leadership responsibilities. A big focus on leadership while you're there.
What, like they give you like a guide or something, like a class, like leaders?
You'd have you're broken down on in terms of the structure. The guys were broken down into like there was a cavalry troop for horses.
Okay.
And they'd have two companies, and there'd be a company commander and a first sergeant, just like you would in the Army, and they'd have kind of responsibilities for maintaining order. But, the kids are 17, 18, so there's a lot of adult oversight at that point, too.
Yeah, hooliganism, huh?
Yeah. But you're living there.
So you're living there. How many people is it like a squad bay, or do you have rooms, dorms?
Individual rooms, yeah. I think every room was two people. There might have been three-person rooms.
So you had a roommate?
But yeah.
How'd that go?
First one was pretty rough, man.
Really?
15, yeah.
Yeah.
Good kid. We've connected since, but...
do you want to call him out right now? We can do that.
How about just the first name?
Okay,
Richard.
I'm just kidding.
No, he's a good dude, but at the time, just away from home for the first time, all of us. And you can kind of see how this would be an issue. We had open bay showers.
Yeah.
He didn't like that.
Oh, he didn't like that?
So
I guess
long stretches without showering.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
That is bad.
But
15?
Yeah, be 15.
Bro.
We're sophomores.
15, yeah, that's not good. You have to... Yeah. There's always someone like that in those scenarios, too, actually. There was one in every platoon I had. Yeah, I don't get that.
There's no way around it, though.
No.
Like, when you're living there, there's no, like,
hey, bro,
I'm going to go home and take care of this. So
no, you gotta hose off.
In retrospect, it was a tough time for him. A kid trying to figure out I don't want to be in an open shower with these other guys, but also I'm starting to smell bad, and people noticed. And but
and it's just and it's not fun. It kind of stacks up.
But randomly, like 15 years later, the dude sent me a note on the benefits of Facebook. Right, reached out. And said,
did he send you a photo from his shower?
No photo showers. Thanks for asking. Yeah.
He's like, hey, what's up, man? Look
what I can do now. Yeah.
This is great. This is a video of him like, I had no idea. That'd be so great.
Didn't know what I was missing.
Yeah, I got a tankless water heater. Dude, things are going well. That'd be awesome. Okay, so your sophomore year, so you're there. What about the adjustments? How's the food like? What's your uniform look like? What's it called?
Culver Academy.
Can we, Blas, you think you can pull up a Culver Academy uniform? I want to see it because I have an idea.
Yeah.
So is military. So my idea is ROTC-ish. You know what I'm saying? Little chevrons here or there.
Air Force-y is what I'd say.
Air Force-y?
If you saw, you'd probably think Air Force. Yeah. There's a bunch of military history there, though. Like it was a training ground in World War I.
Isn't that what most of these academies are? Though they were like pipelines for the military.
But they've got like 4 Medal of Honor recipients in high school history.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
For real?
For a high school.
That's insane. I mean, Tennessee's got Alvin York. We talk about him a lot, dude. We talk about old Alvin a lot, man.
But it used to be more of a military focus. Like they had a JROTC type thing.
Here we go.
And by the time I was there, no real military connection.
Bro, is that you?
There you go. That's not me. Could be me.
Bro.
You see what I'm saying? Like kind of Air Force-y almost.
Is that what you wore every day?
No.
That's the dress uniform.
That's the dress uniform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bro, that's sick. That's actually kind of cool. And it's just
Interesting
dudes.
look, yeah.
Was it boys and girls?
Yeah.
Guys and girls?
The girls, you see, they're in their uniforms.
Yeah, they're in all girls uniforms at all private schools are the same. Like
same,
the plaid skirt, the long sleeve shirt, the sweaters. Yeah. So you're there. Were you just going to public school normal before that?
Yeah, 1 year.
So you did like 1 year public school. You get scouted. I'm gonna say you got scouted. Did you get
I
scouted?
did not get scouted.
Come on,
no.
I know it's gonna be hard to get stuff out of you. You're such a humble, nice young man.
No, so big fish, little pond kind of thing when it comes to
Stop.
hockey.
You were
I
good.
Swear. No,
You
I
were
swear.
good.
So in Champaign, I was one of the better players, and you're looking out like, well, I'm going to go do these other things. I'm going to go play in a bigger arena and all these things, and then you get there and you realize what good hockey is. Some of these guys, there were plenty of guys at Culver went pro. Like this was not just like a good school in Indiana. They sent guys to the NHL. So like, I wasn't good enough to play in college.
You were good enough to get us. Let's just agree to disagree. You were above average. Can we get there?
For Champaign, yeah. Not for Culver.
Stop. All right, I get it. You're Midwestern and self-deprecating, but like I'm trying to give you some flowers.
There we go.
Here.
I'll take it. All right.
All right. Cool. No. So was it a culture shock? Like public to private, like that? Not just private, a military school.
I don't remember it being that much, honestly. There's definitely a big change being away from home, living away from home, but I don't remember it being that scary. I knew one kid from my town that was going there.
Okay.
But for the most part, everybody's brand new. I was really excited about it. So it wasn't scary. Like they do this kind of military introduction thing where they teach you how to march and they yell at you for like a night, but it's nothing like a basic training or anything.
They're like, yeah,
that.
your parents are paying for this. We can't, push too much on it. Yeah.
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 So it wasn't ever really scary. I think I was just so excited to be there and to give it a try.
It sounds awesome. Like honestly, like I understand like the scare, family, all that stuff, but like it sounds incredible.
It was good for me. I started there in 2001.
Okay.
So it was like 2 months in to being at this academy.
And then
9/11.
9/11 happened.
Yeah.
You saw the path I was laying down. Good for you.
So it's hard. There you go. Look at that little video, Culver Academy. It's a really pretty area, man.
It looks awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Look at that warrior.
Not a ton of people end up going military out of there. A handful do.
I just think it's a really cool experience, right?
It was.
Would you say it before we get into where you were during 9/11? That's a story I always like to ask. Do you feel like being in an environment like that helped to give you some freedom to shape the person that you are?
It opened my eyes a lot. Being from a university town, a lot of kids from our school, they went straight to either the local community college or the University of Illinois because it was right there.
Okay.
Grew up going to all the Illini games. That was it.
That's the thing. The Fighting Illini?
Fighting Illini. That's right.
Yeah. There he is.
So it in retrospect, I think that what I could have imagined was just a little more limited. Going to a place like Culver, there were kids from all around the world, and most of them were going to college, but some of them were just going back home to Mexico or to China. And just kind of when you start looking at colleges, for instance, instead of looking at Illinois and the Midwest, your friends are looking at places all around the country.
Yeah.
So you start looking elsewhere.
As you should.
And I think it just kind of opened it up in that regard.
Yeah, dude. I often, one of the things I'm most grateful for is the opportunities I've had to travel outside of the country and outside of the state and the country, because it really does things to you as a person. Mm-hmm. That I don't want to say it gives you like a globalist worldview, but it definitely gives you perspective of like, oh wow, things are going pretty good. And like everyone has that. Like, you can watch a commercial, you can see like none of that stuff impacts anyone. As if you're like in a country and you're like, oh wow, you can't drink the water. What do you mean? Why can't you drink it? Like it'll make you sick, or like all the weird things that like are just normal in other places that aren't normal here. So I guess what I'm trying to get is it feels like going to a place like that, you could really have an opportunity to peek at the world, right? And then also when you're like at home, I often felt this is like growing up and seeing it in my children as well, is that like it's tough developing your identity with people you've known your whole life.
Sure.
And I think having that, like, you can be whatever you want type thing, it really helps.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, you step into a new environment. It's like that in the military, right? You get to a new unit, or you join for the first time, and like
rebranding. Yeah,
exactly. You are who you present.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's people that probably step into it and change everything about themselves, and they develop a new accent or something. But
like every Texan dude like really lays it on thick. The second they enlist, they're like, yeah, and they just like find belt buckles and stuff, and they play Pure Country on repeat in their barracks room. It's, you get it. You get it. OPE. That's the only Midwestern thing I know is OPE. OPE.
Further north, you got to get Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want to start a beef.
Not offended by that, but it's touchy.
Your eyes got weird for a second. No. But 9/11. You were at school.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Sophomore, first couple months there at Culver. I remember just like everybody, they kind of wheel in the TV to put the TV on and like here's what happened.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know really what the World Trade Center was.
I don't think anybody did.
I think I'd been in New York maybe, but it definitely didn't register for a while. I remember we did there were memorials and ceremonies, and because it was a school with people from all around the country, it wasn't, if I was in Champaign, everybody's family's right there.
Yeah.
But we had people whose families were in New York.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So there was like an immediate touch point to people in our school who had loved ones affected by this right out the gate. And I remember thinking pretty quickly that I wanted to do something in response to that. I think a lot of people around our age, around our generation, had that thought of, got to do something here.
Locked in. Locked in. And that's when you felt it. You felt that call, huh?
Started looking at it more and more. It was, 15. So enlisting, it was, even if I wanted to go right then, it wasn't going to happen. But started to look into what the military would look like following Culver.
Did they have any like preparatory stuff or anything about that? Where they're like, hey, you look like you could be a nobleman, an officer?
Not really. They had some people on staff that had been to the academies. I think the commandant was a Naval Academy guy, and he's an 06, retired.
The commandant
06.
of the school?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the guy that oversaw the boys' side of the school was a retired 06 Navy. And then I think there was a major that had gone to West Point. They'd retired and they worked here in kind of like administrative capacities. So they helped you kind of navigate the admissions process.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't any sort of like grooming or coaching or direction towards academies or even towards enlisting. Most of the focus was on going to college.
Just get to college.
College, not going into the military. So I think we had a couple people enlist right out.
Yeah, and they're like, no.
I mean, people are paying a lot of money to go to a boarding school. Usually you're not spending that money to go there and then
No, I understand.
enlist. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. So you graduate what, 04?
04, yeah.
04. 06 was better. So you graduated in 04, and then how long until you go eventually to West Point? And I have questions about how to get in, all that stuff. How long until you go straight there?
No, wasn't smart enough to get in the first time, so I was on the wait list. And they have something called the AOG, Association of Graduate Scholarships, to where people that are on the wait list and they're kind of close to being able to get in. Mm-hmm. They'll send you to these other schools around the country to do a prep year.
Okay.
So I went down to Alabama, Marion Military Institute.
Okay.
Outside Selma, kind of middle of nowhere.
Yes.
It was a good experience down there. A bunch of guys going off to the Air Force Academy and West Point and Navy. Spent a year there.
So it's common for all of the academies to do that, to send you like what, delayed entry program kind of?
Kind of. I think it's called something different at each.
Yeah.
But they've all got something like that. We had probably, I think from Marion, small school, like 200 people or something. I think we sent 12 to West Point, 15 to Air Force or something. Like it's a part of that school is.
Yeah, it's part of that pipeline.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here's what I know. And I want you to walk me through it. If you can reveal all these secrets. I'm sure you're sworn to most of them. But as a part of the 1%, which you are. So, sorry. So you have to have good grades, obviously. What are they? Like 4.0, I guess.
I didn't. We keep going though. I'll try to hit it all here.
Good grades, good. ACT, SATs. I would imagine ACT top 30s is what I would imagine, above 30, something like that, right? Or just take SAT. I don't know any scores for the SAT.
Yeah. So I still work with volunteer as a admissions liaison for West Point.
Okay.
So I get to see some of this stuff now from this side. It's 60% academic.
Okay.
Test scores and grades. There's no like hard line, like it has to be above this. And then 30% is leadership.
Interesting.
And then 10% is a physical score. You have to take a test. It's not like the Army physical test. It's somewhat similar. But
is that some of your boys right there?
there we go. Getting after it their first summer.
Yeah.
So,
what is it called? A plebe? Is
Beast. Yeah. Plebes are freshmen.
Yeah, a bunch of boots is what they are. Yeah.
But the benefit, how I was able, I think, to get in. My test scores weren't the highest. My grades weren't the highest, but I was a captain of a couple sports teams. At Culver, you have an honor council. I was on the honor council. Things like that in the leadership category can move you up to kind of offset some of the grades, because when you're talking about any of these military academies, they don't just want people that get good grades. They're trying to produce officers. They need people who can that can run around.
Yeah.
That have some degree of leadership, or at the very least are interested in leadership. So a big portion of it is looking at all the other stuff outside of the classroom.
Yeah, and so you've got all those things, but this is what I heard. I didn't know this, is that you also need like a letter from a congressman or something?
You need a nomination. Yeah.
From what type of person?
So each congressman, it can come from your congressman, one of your senators, vice president. And there might be
you mean the vice president?
The vice president. And there's a couple people who qualify for that one. It's like Medal of Honor, children of Medal of Honor recipients, things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But what that does is it spreads out the admissions across the country. So each district has one slot for each academy each year, if you will.
So your congressman, you hit him up and you're like, hey, P. Stewart. I don't know how you refer to yourself.
That was it. Yeah, I say this is P. Stew.
Hey, what's up? P. Stew here, congressman. I need a letter. Holla at your boy. I've really been putting this district on the map.
About word for word, yeah.
Yeah. But how does it work? You just reach out to them and they interview you, or what is it?
They usually have their own application process, which is one of the reasons it takes so dang long. It's you've got to get through that. So to get in, you have to have that nomination. But in some cases, you might be the only person applying from your district.
Okay.
Could be easy. You got the nomination. Other times, you might be one of the most qualified in the state, but there's 6 people more qualified than you in your district, and they're going to get that nomination ahead of you.
Because they're looking for successful candidates, right? They want a good candidate on their behalf.
They want those nominations filled.
Yeah, because then you got to come back and do stuff for them. I bet.
It depends on the district a lot. Some places that are military heavy, it's going to be harder to get in because you're going to have more people applying. But there's plenty of districts around the country where there might only be one person applying that year.
Okay. So you get all these things in order, you go wait a year, and then you go up to real life Hogwarts.
Real life Hogwarts, that's right.
That's one of my favorite TikToks, as men say in their 30s. But it was going to school in real life, you're in real life Hogwarts. What is that building?
That's the mess hall.
The mess hall?
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
It's huge.
It's literally what I want a military academy to look like.
Seats 4,000 people for a meal at any given point.
And so the entire school goes there? So it's not just classes or whatever. It's not freshman, junior, senior.
No,
whatever.
It's every Monday through Friday, every breakfast and lunch is everybody all at once.
How is the food?
It's actually pretty good. I think it's the best food I've had in the military, honestly.
I bet it is.
I mean, outside
They're feeding you young nobles. They got to make sure that you're welcome to the mess hall.
The mess hall workers there are actually awesome, too.
I bet they are. I bet they're Wolfgang Puck, and Guy Fieri shows up sometimes.
How in some military dining facilities, they're just angry with you all the time.
Yeah, I would be too.
Go away. It's not the case there. The mess hall workers at West Point, all of my memories were hey, can we get extra this, or can you help us out with that? They were always just over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, good people.
They're extra? This is West Point. They just give you a $100 bill. Is that how it works?
That's how it works,
They're here. Yeah, throw
underneath
this.
the hamburger patty, you pull out the extra.
Before you eat,
money.
make sure you throw something at an enlisted. And they're yes, ma'am.
So on that note.
Look, dude, will you look? This is incredible. What was I doing with my... I would have given anything for a father figure. Lord have mercy.
So on the
murals. Is that it?
That's it right there.
What is that hall called?
It's the dining hall, Washington Hall.
Washington Hall. West Point or Hogwarts?
Classrooms above it. You get it filled out. There you go.
What's that? Who's that person?
Looks like the dean.
So dean.
Oh, never mind. General Dempsey. There you go. The bottom.
Okay, so like they come in. Look. They have a balcony to sit over top of you. This
poop
is
deck. They call it the poop deck. Is
the
that
poop
Navy
deck?
thing? I feel like that's the Navy thing.
Yeah, but it's not a thing to look over people. I mean, I was in the Marines, but I know the Navy's got a lot of terminology. I mean, this is literally incredible. It's kind of how I want it to look. That's funny. That's cute. They want to show the one thing where they're like, "You guys serve yourselves." Well, y'all don't serve yourselves. Come on.
No, so for dinner, a lot of night it has changed. But like there'd be like a walk-through line, but for the most part, you walk in, 4,000 people, you stand behind your chairs, and they'll give an announcement, say, "Take seats." 4,000 people sit down at once, and they bring out the food right then. So it is. You are 4,000 people in, sit down, eat, and out in about 20 minutes.
Hang on just one second. I got to do something real quick. Listen to me, viewers. Don't enlist. Be an officer. Did you hear that? Be an officer. I had to do that.
So, that raises a good point here. There are very few enlisted soldiers at West Point. Now, there are...
Prior enlisted.
No. So there's around 10% of the class is prior enlisted.
Okay.
And there are cadets going through the academy. But in terms of your interactions with enlisted soldiers, it's minimal. There's military police on post.
Yeah.
Realistically, there's very few interactions with those.
Yeah.
As hopefully there's very few interactions with the MPs. Wow. But then you've got a senior enlisted kind of advisor that's an E7 or an E8, pretty far along in their career. Outside of summer training, there's not a lot of interaction, unfortunately, with enlisted soldiers.
Yeah.
It's all officers and all senior NCOs.
No, it's incredible. It's honestly, if I want, like, it's the top military institutions. Like, everyone knows it. I understand it. Go Navy, beat Army. But like it's kind of magical. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you went there. What is it like? Do you enjoy it? Is it fun? Is the relationships tight? Tell me about it, dude.
Yeah, relationships very tight. It was not fun. It's better now. It's a grind. So
this is what I've heard.
Yeah. Like, there's just not a lot of time off. 2 weeks for Christmas, 2 weeks in the summer. The rest of your summer's off doing training. So it's just constantly the next thing is coming. What they try to do at West Point is layer on more than you can do.
Okay.
To get you to just be able to handle
pressure, right?
Handle pressure, get things done on time, don't make excuses, get it done, move on. And it just is a grind. There's like no end in sight until the day you graduate. So it's 4 years of like head down hammering on this.
Yeah. And you're learning about your job and everything. So when did they start breaking you up into like, you'll do ground, you'll do air, you'll do whatever? When did they start that?
Fall of your senior year. So the first 2 years, pretty general. There's really not a lot outside of the summers focused on military training.
Okay.
It's pretty general,
just
college classes.
Yeah.
But the college classes have a bent. Like geography freshman year, our big project was studying the Normandy beaches for the D-Day landings.
Okay.
So like instead of just looking at farm fields, you're looking at
cool.
Right. So it's kind of that slant. The first class of your junior year, you commit to finishing. You can go the first 2 years and walk away, no questions asked. But then once you start your junior year, you're committing to completing West Point and then the 5-year commitment after. The fall of your senior year, you choose your branch.
Yeah.
Artillery, infantry, aviation.
Yeah.
And then the spring of your senior year, you choose your post. Fort Campbell, Fort Hood, Fort Bragg.
And where did you pick?
Fort Campbell. Field artillery at Fort Campbell.
Let's go.
That's right.
And you were excited about that.
Dude, I couldn't wait. I like military history and 101st Airborne, Band of Brothers. The idea of being a part of that was hard to beat.
I mean, it almost got me. I was...
Really?
Yeah, when Band of Brothers came out, I was just like, well, I don't know what a Currahee is, but I want to do it. Like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And, the Army, honestly, the Army recruiters were too lackadaisical because at that time, 2007, the door would open and it was just a bunch of, just a bunch of dudes blowing through. And the Marine Corps, that's how they got me. They're just like, what's up, dude? What's up? A lot of that.
Really?
And their uniforms are better. That's just a fact.
Here's a random history one for you. It made me think of it watching this. Benedict Arnold.
Yep.
The famous trader.
Yep.
You know what he was caught doing?
What?
Selling the plans to West Point. He was in charge of West Point and got caught trying to sell the plans of the fortification to the British. And he moved right across the river, pursued, left.
So what you're telling me is West Point makes traitors. Is that what you're trying to say right now?
It produced one, yeah.
It produced one, the most famous one.
They've got a plaque in the chapel
where
it's all of the birth dates and dates of death of the generals in the American Revolution.
Yeah.
And they've got their names by all of them. And then there's one where it just says Major General, has no name, and it has a birth date and no date of death. It's Benedict Arnold. Because he was born an American.
Yeah.
Served as a Major General, died a traitor.
Yeah, he did.
So there's no name, no date of death.
Yeah, I actually like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I actually like that.
Sticks around.
Either, if not that, like scratch it out or something. But that's more powerful. I like that a lot. No, dude, it looks idealistic in some aspects. Like, I don't know. I didn't know enough about military stuff to know that was a way to become an officer. That I thought just like they pick you up one day and you become an officer from enlisted. Obviously, I should have done more research. But, we're here now.
It was a good experience. Good for me. I wish more people knew about it to at least look into it. But I say the same thing about the Army and the military in general. I wish more people considered it and looked into it,
That's one of the biggest things I'm trying to do with this is like really talk about like opportunities, things available to people. Like it's not what you think. I mean, our experiences were so very individualized according to the era and the time we were in. Now, I mean, like now's the time to join on some level, I think.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, it could be a lot or not. So, but we'll get into that because you're the guy that knows about the potential globally. But you go to Fort Campbell, so you've been in you've been in an academy high school. You've been in West Point, and then you show up to Clarksville, Tennessee. How was that?
That was the most nerve-wracking of all, I think.
Yeah.
So it was good. I was assigned to the 2nd Brigade, 101st Airborne, 2nd Battalion, 502nd Infantry.
You'll have long names.
I know.
Strike
Force, man.
Yeah.
Strike Force.
Strike Force.
And my first job was as a fire support officer.
Okay.
So I was a part of an infantry company, Dog 2502, and I was the artillery officer that would coordinate the strikes in conjunction with what the infantry guys were doing.
Yes.
So,
were you King of Battle? Is that what they call it?
King of Battle. That's right. Boom, boom, big guns.
Yeah.
So I showed up when they were at JRTC, which is like the final training before deployment.
Yeah.
So I got to Fort Campbell and had 2 or 3 weeks of downtime because they weren't going to send me down to Louisiana mid-exercise. So I just kind of twiddled my thumbs for a few weeks, and then they came back, and we were packed up, ready to go. We were out to Afghanistan about 45 days after I got to Campbell.
Look at that. It's remarkably, it's a very simple weapon. I actually was able to pull the string on, I don't know which one it was, but I went down there this time last year, actually.
Really?
I'd been on the other end of it, but I'd never been on the end where they pulled it. I'd never been on the end where you pull the string and it's top 5, like, coolest moments of my life.
Was it the 105 or the big one, the 777, do you know?
I don't know. I'll have to show you the video. I don't know. I was told it, and I don't want to get it wrong.
I got you.
But like a big bullet came out, and I saw the bullet leave. That was the craziest part. And I've been downrange, and they're like, danger close. And you're like, it's not that close. And like, oh my God, it was like. But just to see the projectile like leave it, it was out in the middle of this field, and I think it was a string. It was literally a string.
There's a string. There's probably 777.
Yeah, it was huge. It was gnarly.
Yeah.
And then I drank the primer cap thing.
Okay, yeah.
Is that what it is? Is that the thing? Yeah, my VA rating did not go up.
That didn't change it?
No, it should have. I think they knew. They're like, he's fine.
That was voluntary.
Yeah, no, it was voluntary. So you're there, and how long it said it was until you deploy?
Let's see. I got there April Fool's Day. I remember that. So it was April, and we deployed beginning of June, so about 2 months later.
2 months later. For how long?
1 year to Afghanistan.
1 year, because y'all do the 6 or 7 months, and then you get 2 weeks off, then you go back.
Yeah,
something like that, right?
It was weird. I didn't know that existed, but
neither did I.
It wasn't. We couldn't do 6 months, 2 weeks, 6 months because the entire unit would be gone.
Yeah.
So we had to stagger it.
Yeah.
So we'd been in country 3 weeks, and dudes started going home.
Don't like that at all.
Which was weird.
Don't like that at all.
Mine was closer to the midway point. I think I came home in January. But yeah, essentially a year stretch.
How was that coming home in between? Because I did 7 months and then we came back.
I hated it.
And I don't think it's a good system either.
I don't know. Hey, look at that guy.
Is that you?
That's me. That's our last mission in 2011.
Man, dude, you look handsome as hell,
How
bro.
about that? Look at that tear in the pants. You like those?
Yeah, you look like you're out there doing stuff. I dig it, dude. Yeah.
It's a good group there.
No, I love it. There's a good group of boys.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die out here.
Dog's name was Ranger.
Ranger?
One of our bomb sniffing dogs.
Dude, I like the buzz. You're like You're in your prime right there.
As good as a dirty deployment, man.
Yeah.
We were out for weeks at a time and built some good friends and still in touch with all those guys.
That's the way it's supposed to be. But you're out there, right? And then you come back and you do what?
The come home for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine was, I think I came home right around New Year's Day. I just didn't like it at all. I felt disconnected. Our guys were still going on operations, and you don't know what's going on. I was emailing with our company XO to ask how things are going, and then anytime there's a casualty in the battalion, there's communications blackout. And so,
we called it River City. Is that what you guys called it? I don't know why.
No.
That was what it was called.
Same thing where it just shuts everything down?
48 hours.
Okay, yeah,
River
same
City.
idea.
Yeah.
Comms blackout is generally what we call it.
Yeah.
But like I'd be going back and forth with them, and I knew that they'd be going on an op, and then all of a sudden it would shut down for 2 days, and you wouldn't know because it's not in the news. These, it was the biggest thing in our world happening every single day, but there wasn't real time coverage of the firefights in southern Afghanistan. I just hated it.
That's kind of what I was trying to get to, is that like the worst thing to happen is to not be there when it happens, right? Not just that, but like a different platoon, different company. You're like, oh, dude, what if I was there, right? So I can't imagine being home for 2 weeks, which is a horrible plan to begin with. Like to come, you're like at war and you come back and you're like, oh, I guess I'll just go get sushi now, and then like you got to go back afterwards. Like, miss me with that.
It was short enough time period to where I was itching to go back and ready to go back, and felt honestly guilt. I mean, I wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, because like you're also a leader, especially when you're in leadership. It's your job. The only thing you can ask for as a good leader in combat is that your mistakes won't lead to someone else's death. I'm convinced of that.
It was good that they forced everybody to go.
Yeah,
it wasn't like you didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
so like our company commander had to leave, but there were very few times where people were like, I can't wait to go. There were people that wanted to get out, and people were excited to see their family and their kids. I don't want to downplay that at all, but there was a lot of like...
Of course, but not... The context is that, but we're going back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? One of my good friends just, he's on his last tour, and, he came home and he's like, it's just brutal. It's just brutal.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that. But so you go out. I mean, how was the deployment overall?
That was a pretty kinetic one.
Yeah.
So it was in Kandahar, 2010-11. This was the surge.
Yep. I was in Helmand, South Helmand, Marja.
Same time period?
Marja. Literally, that's where I was, yeah.
So you guys kicked that off.
Yep.
We were watching Marja, knowing that we were coming into Kandahar, and that's kind of how it flowed.
Y'all watched
Marja, it? On the news.
Yeah, it sucked.
So we saw what you guys were doing, knowing that, like, you were pushing from the west, and then we were coming in and taking the eastern portion. I was at a place called Hauzi Madad, and then a little place called Strong Point Dog. We just had a...
You started out at Kandahar Airfield, though, right?
Flew into Kandahar Airfield.
I did on my first tour, but we went to the TGI Fridays. No one believes that's
it was
real.
Closed when we got there.
It was closed, but there was a TGI Fridays.
Tim Hortons.
At Tim Hortons. It was weird. My first meal in country was at Burger King. And I was like, I went to call my wife at the MWR, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know, war's pretty cool. And I was like, like, it was pretty chill. No, it's wild. So, yeah, we were there, and then we were just in the south the rest of the time, Camp Leatherneck for like a week, and then we lived outside in Marja after that.
So our base was Hauzi Madad, the battalion base, and then we pushed out to a small company outpost. That was it. It was a mud room.
Yep. That's all you need. That's all you need, a few cots and you're set.
Hole in the ground.
Yeah. So then you do that, you do the work, and it's that time during the surge. I feel like that whole part of Afghanistan was just erupting. But then you come home, right? Are you married at this point, dating?
No, single. I don't know how I would have done a deployment otherwise. Everything went into a storage unit.
Yeah.
From an apartment to a storage unit.
Yeah.
$40 a month. Parents watched the truck, and it was easy, all things considered. Looking back, it's hard to imagine how many people did these deployments over and over and over again with children. It's unfortunate I didn't have that.
Yeah, no, it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I believe it.
And I wouldn't be able to do it without my wife. But no, and then you did another tour after that?
Yeah, about 10 months later, went back to eastern Afghanistan. That time period there was tough, that in between, because you come back from that that period in 10, 11 down in the South. There's so much luck involved.
Yeah.
With what you step on or what you don't step on.
Yeah.
Or
it's a
what
game
you step
of,
on and doesn't go off.
It's a game of numbers. So I tell people, you go on more tours, you go on more patrols. You like it's just literally like mathematically things just start happening.
And you watch the guys that are on top of their game and know what they're doing. Step on something that the dog didn't detect, and you realize that it's not all skill. There's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah.
So that second time, the build up to that was tough for me. Just kind of having the mindset of like, well, how many times are you going to roll those dice?
Yeah.
Fortunately, the second deployment was a lot easier, much more office-based, training-based kind of thing. But the time period leading up to it was tough.
Yeah. And so you did the same thing there. You're still just single Preston? Single
Preston, yeah.
Right? And so then you do the second tour. Is that when you decided afterwards you just didn't want to move forward with it or active duty or what? What was your mindset coming out of that?
I wanted to do something different at that point. I was frustrated. You know how the military works. You have a bad experience with one boss, and it kind of shapes everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't like...
Especially when you see him get promoted. You're like, for real?
What's going on here?
Yeah, dude, for real? Come on, man.
Just
yeah.
You know, at that point, it had been 8 years straight of military, and I'd done the deployments. I just wasn't really excited about what the next steps would be, so thought I'll just go ahead and exit active duty when I get back.
Exit active duty when you get back. And then that's where the rest of the story picks up.
That's where it goes.
Which we will pick up in just a moment. We take a break, and we'll be right back. Open the gates. Open the gates. We're back. We're back with the man, the myth, the legend. You know him. Noble needs to cut my man a check. I just looked at one of his TikToks. 4 million? A soft
Something
4
like
million?
that, yeah.
Something like that. Noble. Come on, dude. Come on, dude.
I can be an athlete, you know?
He is an athlete. He's done so much. We left off, you had just gotten back from your second tour. You're in Fort Campbell, and you're transitioning from active duty to reserves. Is that correct?
Just straight out of active.
Straight out of active.
For about 3 years, yeah.
You went off active. No military for 3 years.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I wanted the clean cut. This was, 2014 time period.
Yeah.
National Guard and reserves were still deploying constantly.
Yes.
And I didn't really want to start a new career and 6 months in, end up back in Afghanistan. Thought if I'm trying to go back on a deployment, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
I can just stay in active. So clean cut for me, went into the IRR and moved up to Michigan with my then fiance.
How did y'all meet?
Actually coming back from that deployment, high school friend from Culver. They had gotten married, high school sweethearts, and Megan was in medical school with his wife. So I was coming back, and they set us up on a blind date like a week after coming home. So fresh off the boat.
Really?
Yeah.
How were you then? Surly?
Trim, been working out for...
You look incredible. Stop
I
playing.
felt good.
No, I mean, like, what were you like? Were you like that?
Tried to dial it back a little bit. Tried to stay cultured.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it went well enough to end up, now we're married, and I didn't give too bad of an impression. But
obviously. Well, she's lucky. I hope she knows that.
So am I.
No. So you're up in Michigan now. You're done with the military.
Yep.
Your sea bag is packed. Uniforms are put away.
Yep.
What are you doing?
So I bounced around a couple jobs in the civilian sector. I started...
Give me the first job and how it was.
Northwestern Mutual.
Oh my God, you didn't want to... Dude,
it was awful.
Who got you that job? MOA? No, I don't want to beat up too much. I don't want to beat up on it too much, but like I have this ongoing theory, and you're helping me prove it, so thanks. It's called confirmation bias at this point, I believe. But after you've done so much stuff in the military or seen combat, whatever, or operate at such a high level, I think the structure and golden handcuffs of normal life just feel like a cage. And like traditional jobs in particular, when you've like because the military, you really do operate independently for the most part. There's like, commander's intent, there's desired end state, commander's intent, and then how you accomplish a mission. That's pretty much it with everything, the way an order is given. And then you have to just like, okay, I'll go do that, right? I'm just curious if you notice that in your life as well. So it seems to be, it's not so much a struggle, but it seems to be you either have that awareness or you don't, and I think that dictates a lot of people's success after service.
What I struggled with in that realm was when you're at West Point, you're constantly talked up to about like, you're going to go do these things.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to go lead troops in combat. Get ready. Here it comes. And then you go out in the Army and you're doing those things. Then what comes after that? Like, what lives up to that?
Nothing.
And I thought that maybe the freedom would, or making more money would, or whatever. But that's where I struggled, was trying to take those things seriously and trying to get really vested.
See, that's what I'm talking about. But you've seen that, and you're like, oh, we're going to win. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to call in linear sheets. Like, that used to be cool. You know, it used to be like running a gun line late at night on a mission in the middle of nowhere, putting rounds on target. Like, oh, man, you know? And then you're like, so anyways, yeah, estate planning is really important. Like, it's just, it's jarring. I don't know other way to describe it.
It felt like the idea of you're not getting shot at. So how important is it?
It's not.
We're all going to make it out of this just fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
If we miss the meeting, it's okay. We'll come together tomorrow. We'll get taken care of. It just, I don't know. I had a hard time adapting to that, I think.
I still struggle with it to this day. Do you think that ever goes away?
Yeah, I think you just funnel it in a different manner. But I think it's a good thing, right? Like recognizing when somebody maybe gets really stressed out about a deadline and being able to say like, hey, we're going to be okay.
It'll be okay.
We got it. Don't worry. We can get this done.
Yeah.
There's value in that, being able to kind of step back and kind of lower the pressure.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the things I always fight against is, you know, after being, you know, in the military and stuff and succeeding in high pressure situations, I have found often that I crave chaos and I crave, not drama, that's not the right word, but like pressure. And so as a way to like fight that urge to like blow up my life every few years or do something crazy or outlandish or whatever, like I try to funnel that, like you said, into other things. Because otherwise I'll be like, oh, got to start over. Because I don't know, it just feels too normal or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's just something I've noticed in my life. You know, is that something that rings to you?
When going through that transition process, and you're getting the coaching and the advice on what to say on resumes and what not to say in interviews and things like that. One of them was like, don't talk about being able to operate in a high stress environment.
Why?
because the people would interpret that as you almost seek that out, which is what you were just saying. But I can see that now, where I pile on more things in our life day to day than I should, because I feel like I can operate better in that.
But you can. That's the thing. But it comes at a cost. Right, and you don't know if it's now or later. You pay now, you pay later. Someone once said that, but like, yeah, I have to constantly be like weary of it. So I try to like, honestly, my outlet is like I'll work out till I can't see straight. Like I'll just like okay, and then it puts away that little chaos demon for a little bit, right? And he's fine. He's but every now and then he wants out and he wants some walking around money. You know what I'm saying? Like he's out there looking to mess stuff up.
If you got an avenue to deal with it. So what? It can kind of be an advantage in a sense, right?
So I couldn't agree more. But you're doing Northwestern,
yeah.
Excuse me. And then what's the next job? What do you move to next?
Went to a software company, same through one of those veteran hiring things.
Yeah.
A company in Chicago that did software, and they were looking for like an operations manager.
Okay.
It was great. It really fit well with kind of what I knew from the Army, because it was a little bit of everything.
That's perfect.
It was ideal. It was a good group of people, handful of military. The founders of the company were prior Army, and it was just like a utility player, if you will. Just like getting getting things done.
I think that's where guys like us succeed the most.
It was good. It felt good. The boss gave flexibility. A lot of he would ask a question and I would give an answer and he'd say, "Great, then do that." We're just like, okay.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah. And so you're living in Chicago then?
Yeah, we were in Chicago with that company, and then I went remote when we moved down to Texas, but stayed with that company for a few years. Overall pretty positive. And from there, I moved back into the National Guard because I kind of missed.
You felt that
Army.
call?
Well, I was trying to find that fulfillment through other things, and it wasn't there. And eventually, after a few years, like maybe that thing I miss is soldiers in the Army.
Before we get into that, and as much as you want to talk about it, I know we haven't really talked about it. Did you start to notice, I don't know, were you having issues with like the stuff you'd seen, stuff you'd been through, or any of that stuff started to manifest? that you were aware of, or is I don't know. Everybody has a different journey.
Yeah. At the time, didn't recognize it as much because, like, I was an officer. I went on a fraction of the patrols that our guys did.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Honestly, that means you were a good officer.
So we had, if I went on 20, then I was around soldiers that went on 200, and it wasn't close. It was our soldiers that were picking up body parts after a VBIED went off, right? Like and you see all of that, and you see these guys come back and they're just fine, and you think, well, I know what they just went through, and if they're just fine, then I'm just fine.
Yeah. We all do that, don't we?
Yeah, and in retrospect, they probably weren't fine.
Yeah.
None of them probably were.
Neither were you.
Right. So for me, where it kind of manifested was between those deployments, I was drinking a lot, every night, to the point of like barely being able to do PT in the morning, and then just overeating. I put on 40 pounds in 10 months.
Really?
I was a beast when I went back on that deployment.
I
Clothes
bet.
didn't fit. 40 pounds, a lot of pounds.
No, hey, there's no shame or shade here. We made a daddy doll for my daughter, my oldest daughter. It was my youngest, wasn't born yet, but I made a daddy doll, and it looks like I'm holding my breath. And that's what made me, like, literally I was crawling my way back home from Afghanistan because I didn't want the last photo of me and my child to remember me by is me like this.
Nice. I like it.
Because I had, dude, I was like looking at maternity blouses towards the end. I was like, please let me go to Marja. No.
Yeah. I don't, just in retro, like that was what I did was I just stopped taking care of myself.
The coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after kind of looking back, like, I see what that was.
Well, see, and I beat up on officers a lot just because you guys are the noblemen and everything
We're easy,
else.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, but like the thing that I don't feel is appreciated, I didn't really appreciate it till I was in a position of leadership, is that the reality of the burden of command is unknown until it's known, right? And like we were talking about, like I had only done X or whatever. Like that is what you're supposed to do. An officer is not supposed to go on every patrol. They have other command, planning, logistic roles they're supposed to be fulfilling, and you were doing that rightly so. But just the knowledge and the weight of like they have to go there, right? I don't think that's given as much credit or what's a better word? Understanding of what it's like to lead troops in combat. Because I remember the first time. You know, we had taken so many casualties to a point I went from being a team leader to a squad leader. And, you know, when I was a team leader, I gave my opinion. I think we should go left. And everyone else would say theirs, and the other team leaders and the squad leader make a decision. And then I remember the first time everybody looked at me and they said, I think we should go right. And I'm like, I guess we're going right. Right? That just that little shift of like, oh, now it's my decision. I can't imagine that at a higher level, right? Do you think that's accurate? It's not really understood? I think it's because it's such a small group.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine, still in touch, who's a boss downrange, and I know that that's something that he's struggled with, is he put the plan together, and people died or were hurt, and you can't erase the fact that you're the one who said, second squad will go here.
Yeah.
First platoon will go here.
Yeah.
And you can, all the logic says, well, you're not the one who triggered that IED. You're not the one who fired that shot, but you're the one who came up with the plan, even if it was a sound plan.
Yeah.
And a random mortar round fell somewhere.
Little too much or little too much gunpowder or not enough.
Exactly.
That's all it takes. Shifts around, one side to the left, one side to the right.
We had our brigade commander in that deployment, I think, really, in a good way, took everything to heart. It beat him up pretty bad when he came back, which was awful. He's a great man, was a great leader, and continues to do really incredible things for the veteran community. But the number of losses in his command, I think he felt every one of them.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing of he told this battalion to be there, so those soldiers that were killed were on him. I think he internalized that.
I think it's almost impossible not to on some level,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, no matter how big or small. Like you're just like,
You probably want that though, right? As opposed to somebody that's just cold and like whatever.
is that a
it's gonna
feeling you
happen.
had? Yeah. When you were on the firing line and you're there, right? You're command and control. You're like, fire for effect.
Something happens, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. Is that like, we know certain stories, we don't know all of them. Which is why I'm excited you're here to shed some light on that.
There we go.
Because it's what you tend to do best, and that's, I mean, I gotta know. as a man in his 30s on TikTok, what was the first what was the first thing where you're like, you look at your wife, I don't know her name, I don't know if you want to say her
Megan, yeah.
You look at the lovely Miss Megan Stewart and you go, babe, I feel like I need to make TikToks. And she goes, well, I'm going to go talk to a lawyer, right? No, what was that like?
I used to listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary V?
Yeah.
He DM'd me the other day.
There we go. We're in the right spot.
The craziest moment of my, I think I sent it to like 20 people. I swear, like, so it was when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I saw a meme, I shared it, and it was the meme of Morgan Freeman talking to Christian Bale, and he goes, I'm retired, and he goes, well, let me show you some stuff. And it was Gary V and like Christian Bale was like Tom Brady, because it's like bringing Tom Brady out of retirement. And I was like, Gary V had entered the chat. He wrote me back, hey, bro, I'm rooting for you. I was just like, yes. Like, it's crazy, but that's what's so cool about the internet, right?
Yeah. So Gary, that's wild.
Yeah, it is.
I'd listened to his stuff for a long time, just trying to think of what to do, because kind of searching for that like happiness and joy and fulfillment.
What year is this too? Give me time.
COVID?
That's when hell yeah.
COVID window. So he was just constantly talking about making content, and I felt like I wasn't doing any of it. And he was talking about how easy TikTok's the thing. Just start posting there. And I thought...
and you're working at the company still? What company are you working at?
I was working for my family at that time.
Okay, what does your family do?
Commercial real estate down in Texas.
Okay.
So I was remote in Tennessee. We moved up to Tennessee to start a business. We have a daycare business.
Okay.
And anyways, he just kept talking about TikTok, and I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody will see it and make fun of me. Probably is the worst that can happen. But I just felt like I had nothing to lose. Wasn't going to dance, wasn't going to sing. That's everything that was on TikTok at the time.
We're missing out on that.
Yeah, maybe
I'd
not.
love to
maybe
see
it's
this.
coming.
I'd love to see those hips move.
But I was thinking about how all these other platforms, they start with one thing and they kind of transition to everything.
Yeah.
And
well, because it was called Musical.ly first.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really just a place for people to be like, hi, and now it's like just short form video and longer form, actually.
And I feel like it's when that was starting. People were doing other things. So I thought, well, I could talk about military history because I like military history. And there's not really anybody doing that.
And you've got such a good voice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, such a good voice.
So that was it. Just started. And
do you remember your first video?
No. No.
How many? Well,
I don't even know if
Lord
it'll still
have
be up.
mercy.
Oh, it's going to take a while to scroll through, man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Blas is going to have to stretch his hand back there.
One of the challenges with TikTok is I can't even find videos that I know I made. Just the way the platform's set up and the way you search on there, it's just not ideal.
Robust. Oh, got a few copycats down there. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Watching people steal your identity. That's interesting.
TikTok doesn't seem to care much about that.
No, they just want to feed the machine. You're almost to, what is that, 9738? Is that you?
Yeah.
So you're almost hitting a mill.
Getting up there. Well,
before we get into like how robust and scary your presence is on the internet, so you don't remember the first one. Do you remember the first one that was like, holy shit, that's a lot? Do you remember that? Do you remember that first moment where I remember mine, but I don't want to talk about that. But like, do you remember the moment where you're like, there might be something here?
No, because it was all very gradual. Like, there's thousands of videos now, and like, all of a sudden the videos would hit 5,000. I'd say, oh my God, 5,000 people saw this.
On views.
On views.
Okay.
And then a few months later, one would hit 50,000. Be like, what is happening here?
What is that? Especially with TikTok, the recirculation aspects of it as you put stuff up. Like, if I say that's not service connected, people lose their minds. They just, this guy's the best thing to comedy ever. Like, and I'm just like, but other stuff that I'll try on, 100.
It fades and it's gone.
Yeah. But
it's weird.
It's just way down there at the bottom.
But I think that's part of the reason, because I really started on TikTok more than anything else. And I think that's part of why I can't point to like one thing that happened, because you put a video out and it's a banger and it gets 600,000 views.
Yeah.
In 2 days, it's dead.
It's
and
dead.
Nobody sees it ever again.
Yeah. Go away.
Exactly. So any of those things that happened to where it went off, 48 hours later, you're back at square one. So it's felt more like a continuous thing than individual moments, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, so but you start out with history, which I'm big fan of. I feel like we will know the future by learning from the past, right? I'm sure someone said that much smarter than me. But you're doing this, and like, when did you start shifting to not modern day, just like conflicts overseas?
So always been very interested in military history. That was what I would, when you're out of school and people can't tell you what you have to read.
Yeah.
I was reading military history. I was watching military history movies.
This is crazy.
So I liked that, but I've always wondered what it would have been like trying to follow the conflict in real time. So in June of 1944, what was it like being in the United States trying to track the Allies move across Normandy? Because now we've got the clear picture, and we can, hey, it was a success, and here's how it played out. But what was it like in the moment? And so when the war in Ukraine kicked off, I started spending a lot of time on that because we have access. It feels a little bit like we're able to document history in real time.
And you're documenting it. You're doing it. I remember, so I came by you. I had seen you on there a lot because of just like the stuff I was searching. Hey, Stan. Shout out to Stan. No, I'd seen a lot of stuff that you were doing, but the thing that it was the demining is an incredibly complex process. That's a good Preston
I feel
Stewart.
good about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, demining is an incredibly complex process, and just the guy throwing the tire to the mining. Oh, that works. And I was like, this guy's funny.
Hey.
That was my favorite part because like you really seize the moment of being like, this is something that's in this, as history's being made, there's guys who are just like winging it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what, as I continue to see this stuff and you know, looking at all these different clips here, now we're in this era, this is all my opinion, we're in this era where you have more technology than ever, got more ways to record stuff than ever, more connectivity than we probably need. There's an argument made for that. But why is it so convoluted? You have any thoughts on that? That won't get us like canceled, but I mean, like, why is it so unclear with all of the stuff available to us that should make it very clear? This one, you know, Russia's winning, Ukraine's winning, whatever. It's just, it feels, I don't know what the right word is, convoluted.
There's almost too much information.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the answer. I think a part of it is the challenge that we were talking a little bit before we started about kind of the free speech and allowing everything out there, even the things you don't agree with. And I think this kind of gets into that, is there's room for people to say things that they know are not correct.
Yeah. That's shit posting. That's the term.
Yeah.
Shit posting is a term. But because that gets clicks, like, hey guys, I can't believe this is happening. If somebody starts a video off that, you know, don't follow them.
Yeah.
Don't trust them, obviously.
I don't know. There's room for everything, for better or for worse. So you can find news that align with your beliefs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's always big picture. I don't know if that's a good thing, because then you can.
I don't think so either.
You can be like, well, I'm right. What I believe is right. But I don't know how you move away from that, because I don't think the answer is to remove voices or to shut down certain voices. But there's, you know, you can find somebody on TikTok with 10,000 followers who'll tell you whatever you want.
Well, but I think news then has to be broken down into opinion-based and fact-based, right?
Sure.
That might be the ultimate answer. But in a time where we're unsure, there's more content being created than ever, it just seems like if you're looking for confirmation bias, you'll find it. But just like factual truth, like I don't know who's winning the war in Ukraine, and I want to know, right? So from everything that you've seen and you gathered, for instance, what is it that you're seeing?
Real quick, I will give an answer to that, but I think part of the challenge is you can just present facts and just leave out some facts, and that's not inaccurate.
It sucks.
But if I only told you the Russian casualties in the war, you would get the perception that Ukraine is running the show. But I'm not telling you anything that's inaccurate. It's just only one piece of information. So
omission is lying, though, right?
Yes.
I think omission is lying, and that's saying, like, you know, like when it's my wife's like, "Did you buy anything today?" And I'm like, I don't think so. But then I went to like Americana Pipe Dream and I copped a few hoodies, or like, but it won't be here till the next day. And then like when it gets there, she's like, I thought I said I didn't buy anything. Well, not today. I only count it when it comes to the house. Something could have happened, right? That's the lie,
I like
right?
that.
Huh?
Good
What did you
example.
say? Hey, please do, man.
It hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah,
so
has it arrived? Or like when my daughters look at me and they're like, "Don't open my Amazon packages." Like, it's the same thing. So technically, yes. Technically, no. Right? Walking that line. But is it here? I don't know. I haven't touched it. I haven't seen it. It might not have happened. We could have had our identity stolen. Anything could have happened. It didn't. I did order some hoodies. Yeah, so the Flecktarn goes hard, but emission is lying. But that's the thing. That's what I mean. It's not only used to fix the news cycle, but I do feel like you're the TikTok Walter Cronkite. You're like,
I appreciate that.
Because you do go out of your way. Your reputation is spotless. You actually have been deployed. You actually have been in a combat MOS. You do have the experience, the background, the education. Lord knows you're the most educated person I've talked to. You went to 2 military schools, right? You shouldn't even be friends with me, according to that. But you like literally understand it, and like stuff that you don't know, you confess openly to. You don't just like put your face over stuff and be like, "This is whatever." Like, so in this era, what is the answer? I guess. Who's who's winning?
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't want to pass that up. Let's hit that first. Part of the challenge is because we're able to see this stuff in real time is we want a scoreboard and be able that clear answer. And you're a smart dude. You're keeping up with a lot of this, and you said I don't know who's winning. It's because I don't think either side is winning.
I don't think. Objectively, like we're in a never-ending conflict.
Yeah,
which is kind of what we're known for the past 20 years. That's a bigger foreign policy thing that I'm not even going to go into, but just there is no exit.
Right, I would say that. And the commander of the Ukrainian forces just put a big wrote a piece in The Economist where he said it's essentially a stalemate, which is.
But isn't all war a stalemate at some aspects, right? There's no real clear winner usually. I mean, I guess there isn't.
When I think stalemate, I think like there's no clear path forward, and
yeah.
That is the challenge right now in Ukraine. So you can pull apart all these different metrics, and you can say Russia did not expect to be here right now. They expected to win this thing a long time ago.
Yeah.
So in that sense, Ukraine is winning. The fact that Ukraine still exists, they are winning in a sense. Getting into casualties is messy because it's very hard to find any reliable sources on either side.
Who's reporting all that other stuff? I mean, that's always been my issue with this from the very beginning, is neither side, in my opinion, and I'm dumb, and my dad's name was Bubba, so take it for what it's worth, is that neither side had a clear objective of like what they consider to be a victory and then what they'll compromise for, right? It just seems like this, you should go away, you should go away. That's not going to happen realistically.
They're too far in the other directions. They're not very close to each other. So Ukraine's objective outside of just surviving at this point is they want to push the borders back to where they were in 2014. Russia, it has no intention of doing that. They'd have to cede a lot of territory. Their military would essentially have to collapse. So there's not an obvious solution. So as we sit here this fall, what we've seen is that Russia, they've gone on the offensive a couple times since the start of the war. They have realistically, since Ukraine has really dug in, not been able to gain a lot of territory, and it's come at a high cost. And then this summer, Ukraine kicked off their counteroffensive, their major offensive operation. They also did not gain a bunch of territory, and it came at a pretty substantial cost. So when you're looking at this war, like to say that one side or the other has a clear definitive advantage going forward, you're just kind of speculating.
What do you think the most likely outcome is?
I think the most likely outcome is a negotiated settlement that is closer to Russia's terms than Ukraine's. I think the international community is not going to. I mean, we've got the presidential election coming up, and Ukraine's clearly going to be a hot button topic. I don't know that Ukraine is going to have the international support indefinitely that they've had to this point, and they can't survive without it.
No, they can't. I don't. It's just something that, when I look at a lot of it's grandstand, I know it's all politics and everything else with the stuff of like budget going here or there. People were, when I see them talking about not giving veteran benefits the things they need, or inflation's going up, all these things, and we're still cutting checks left and right. That's the stuff where it's just like, what's happening, right?
I don't think we've done a good job of messaging it. We, the United States government, because it's not that, right? It's not that. Either the veterans get benefits or Ukraine gets money, and you know that.
I do know that, yeah.
But
what do you mean?
But the fact that can be brought up, and it's a very easy thing to like, wait a minute, why are these things not getting funded, but Ukraine is so quickly funded? I understand that argument, and I understand. I think our politicians haven't done a good job of explaining.
Is that intentional though?
I don't know.
Is it just they don't care, or I mean, in my opinion, most people aren't as informed, myself included, as they should be when it comes to, just the way the U.S. operates globally and, just regular things that we do on a day-to-day basis, right? As far as it goes, like foreign policy and security concerns. But I feel at some point they just don't really care to inform all of us because we'll just get confused.
I think for a while it didn't matter.
Yeah.
The early Ukraine packages, they just went.
I mean,
like everybody just voted for it, and there really wasn't any meaningful pushback in the United States.
But how did you? I know how I felt about it when they were doing that. How did you feel about it? I didn't like it.
It almost felt like it was after the fact.
But
like you wake up in the morning, you're like, look at that thing passed.
Afghanistan closes horribly, and then like, don't worry, got some over here.
Yeah.
That was my gut reaction. Was like, come on, man.
It feels like, in my opinion, it feels like there wasn't a lot of thought put into the messaging piece or the explanation to the American public because it wasn't needed early on because they just signed off on it and went. And here we are 18 months later trying to figure out that messaging.
Yeah.
And maybe if that messaging had been figured out early on, we wouldn't have been providing the same level of aid or wouldn't be as involved as we are. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's just that's happening, and like, it's, in my opinion, it's somewhat foolish to think that like it'll settle with like Ukraine winning or even Russia winning, if we're gonna be honest. Like I do think it's gonna end with like just the compromise like they've done before. Was it Crimea? Is that what they did before?
They took Crimea in 14, yeah.
Yeah. Because like it is a pattern, right, of these things continuing to happen. I don't want to ask if you support that. That's a dumb question, but like when you see what's happening, because you're getting this information all the time from multiple different sources, and you're taking the time to like vet it and look at it as like real, a real-time representation of what's going on. What do you feel? What do you think? What are your takeaways? What are your personal beliefs on it, and who did you vote for this past election?
Yeah, no, I will share my personal beliefs. I think Ukraine has every right in the world to defend themselves. I think we could nitpick the different reasons why Russia decided to do what they did, and you can talk about how NATO has expanded. NATO has gotten larger. It has gotten closer to Russia's borders. Putin made the decision to go into Ukraine and start killing Ukrainians. And if I'm a Ukrainian...
Those are facts, too. Like, those are actual facts. Like, NATO has expanded, something he has been adamant against for as long as he's been in power, which has been multiple presidencies. I don't even know, 30 years, something like that? It's been a while. But, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that. And he said, don't do it, NATO. Don't do it. And they're like, whatever, we're doing it.
And then Putin made the decision to go into Ukraine and start killing Ukrainians.
Start killing them,
And if I'm a Ukrainian, I'm defending every inch of that territory with my life.
As you should.
But it's not a regional conflict. I think we run the risk of if we cede much to Putin, we run the risk that maybe it doesn't satiate his appetite and he decides to continue doing something further. We don't know. That's total speculation. He could be content or beat down enough after Ukraine to where they can't do anything further. My general view of the world is that we enjoy the standard of living we have in the United States and the freedoms we have because of our ability to affect change around the world and drive policy around the world.
Yeah.
In turn, I don't think we can completely step away from a major war like is in Ukraine. I don't know the answer, though, because I don't think the answer... I think we're a long ways from any suggestion that America should get directly involved. So if we're not going to do that, but it is still important, where's the middle ground? And that's tough.
When do you think it'll come to an end? Do you have any idea at all? Is there anything you're seeing?
Nothing points to an end right now.
You think it could go on like years?
Yes, years and years. So if the United States, even if we shut down all aid and say we're not going to send any more aid at all, down to zero, which I think is unlikely because there's a big machine in Washington, D.C., no matter who's in office, to completely shut everything off, I think is probably a pipe dream.
Yeah, it rhymes with Schmatheon. Yeah.
But, you've still got Europe that's going to be contributing for some time. The Ukrainian people are not just going to stop fighting.
What other countries in Europe are supporting Ukraine the way we are?
The European Union has stepped up quite a bit, and I think has surpassed the United States in terms of economic aid to Ukraine. Great Britain and Germany have been two big ones on the military front.
Okay.
But it's not really a conversation. If you take out the U.S. military aid,
for sure,
nobody else is even close.
Obviously, like that's part of our position in the global.
Yeah.
In the globe, is that we move and everyone moves with
game,
us.
Man. Yeah.
For better or worse. No, it's just been interesting to see, and you're the only person I trust when it comes to this stuff because I know you move with this and you use this as a filter, but like you understand that like what you're doing is you're just telling the truth no matter what it is, and I have the utmost respect for that.
I appreciate that. It's something that scares me a lot because I think if we look back on our experience in the military, I think we got a lot of things wrong in Iraq.
Oh yeah,
and
I don't think we should have ever left Iraq or Afghanistan. That's my belief on it. We should maintain the bases.
But like the whole concept of going into Iraq in the first place, they had
WMDs, bro.
Saddam's a bad dude in a lot of ways, but the lead up to that, if you look to the lead up to that, where things are misrepresented,
are they?
Well, think about connections to Al-Qaeda and 9/11.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That
sounding
kind of
pretty un-American right now, bro. No,
that kind of thing makes me nervous because, like, we weren't stupid 20 years ago. We're not stupid today. But if we were so quickly getting behind that, let's go to a war, it makes me nervous in future conflicts that we could do the same thing.
I think we were stupid, objectively. I think we were stupid. I think older generations especially just aren't really prepared for the reality as it's presented to them. If I'm being completely honest, like they thought opioids were non-addictive. like when if everything in my head passes through that filter, like, yeah, it's fine, it's cute, it comes from Walgreens. Like those are things that like, and it bothers me to this day that like we put too much trust in people because they were in positions of power. We should have put trust more in truth, right? And the realities of, did Saddam have weapons of mass destruction? All this stuff's come out about it, and everyone's senses, talked about that. Was he a horrible person? For sure.
Yeah.
Like him and his entire family were known for just destroying that entire part of the world, right? But then we went in there and we made a commitment to fix it, which is honestly, we haven't left there. We have not left there, which boggles my mind when I look at Afghanistan. I don't understand. If it was up to me, I would have left Bagram, I would have left Kandahar, and I would have left like Camp Leatherneck. I would have left one in each position and then monitored the country the same way we did Japan after World War II and Germany. Both of them are economic powerhouses and have strong, vibrant economies and like are producing good for the world, right? Because we're able to quell any uprising or any like second wave of people seeking power or to fill that vacuum.
I disagree on the Afghanistan thing just because I don't know what the correct answer was. Like, I can't look back on it and say, we made decision A, we should have made decision B, and I don't feel like we were that much closer when we left than when you were there in 2010.
No, like I would have never left. I would have just made it like permanent rotation places in the same way Okinawa is and Germany is. That's what I would have done. Like there was no path ever to leave. That was clear. That was clear to me as when my first tour was like, I don't think we'll ever be able to leave here.
Or you leave in 2003.
Oh yeah.
Like,
or then,
yeah.
But by my first tour was in 2008. The next one was 10, 11. Like
it didn't change, right?
It got worse.
There you go.
It got worse. And so, just from my very limited infantryman perspective, is that if we're going to do this, if we're going to sacrifice, if we're going to do the things that we've done here, then we don't need to leave. That was just my perspective, and it is my perspective.
So you mentioned just from your infantryman's perspective, but I think that was really important because when you're there on the ground, I told the story, can't tell how many times. If you ask the soldiers in our unit, the private first class, and say, are the Afghans ready to transition? Every one of them to a T would say, no. But then you come home and you pull up, Foreign Affairs, and it talks about the advances in the Afghan military and how they're structured to take on the Taliban. You go, this is different.
Bro,
than what those 19-year-olds are saying on the ground.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. So President Hamid Karzai at the time, he came to Afghanistan, and it was he came to march, and it was a big, ceremony. Generals were walking around with helmets off. It's because there were guys, literally, I was in security in a cordon in this town blocking everyone from getting to him, and they would come up and be like, what are you guys doing? They spent the whole day being like, oh, this is your president, dude. That's your president. And he's like, oh, what do you mean? What's a president? And I'd be like, the president of your country. What country? Oh, well, that's your flag. That's our flag? What's a flag? That's literally the whole country, right? They're very tribal. They will always be tribal. I don't think there's any way to escape that. But if we were trying to like unify them as a country so they could stand on their own against all of the other different types of factions that are looking to fill that power vacuum, then we have to teach them that and help them to grow their individual identity as a country. Because otherwise, why did we go there? Why did we make those sacrifices? Why did we do all those things?
I think we were making decisions after the fact, like because we got there, booted Al Qaeda out quickly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like,
hell yeah, brother. Yeah.
It's like, now this country, got to figure something out with this country. And I think we kind of waded in all of a sudden to an
We're going to build up
Taliban.
TGI Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's 2008 and it's like, what are we doing exactly? Oh, we're building the Afghan security forces, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know that was in 2001 or early 2002 when we were getting troops heading in for Anaconda and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there was this plan in the corner that said, here's how we're going to build the Afghan national security forces over 15 years.
No.
It seems like that came after.
No, it was like on the fly. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just you guys talking about war now, but no, that's where my head's always been, is that we have this precedent of maintaining presence in these countries post-war. I don't know why we abandoned that plan there.
How does that make you feel about the idea of future conflicts? Like if you look at a potential other war, does that make you less likely to support a conflict, thinking that it would be there for the long haul?
I don't know.
Situation dependent. I know it's hypothetical.
I think it's. I mean, I'm 36 now, and I can just barely understand what it's done to me and my family, and I've seen the cost up front. You know, when we were there, to, you know, friends I've put in the ground. And I'm in a place now where all I can think is like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. And everything I do now is a desperate attempt to just not have to look at one more wife or child and give them a folded flag and say, I wish they were still here. Everything's that. And that's kind of the lens I view everything through. Or my friends call me and they're drunk or they're not doing well, or those things. Those are the things I think, well, we fought. We fought hard, all of us. Even the soldiers that are with us, Afghan soldiers, they fought hard too. Mm-hmm. And with reckless abandon, all of us did. And to see it ripple through so many different generations, it makes me hesitant. Because everyone who talks a lot about going to war hasn't been. So I don't want to hear their fucking opinion. You know, because war as a whole is humanity's failure. It's the greatest failure of mankind. We can't solve this, so we're going to try and kill each other. Whoever wins, they get it. And then they'll write history, whatever that looks like. And I don't think we understand that. And we should, you know, George Washington said, a nation's judged by the way it treats its veterans. And I think not the veterans know everything, but if you look to the cost of war, you know, we always seem to have enough money for war, but never enough to cover the cost. And that's what I think about, like day in, day out. That's what I'm thinking about.
I think it's powerful, man. I with this stuff in Israel ramping up, I'm sure you've seen the calls, people saying like, let's go, let's do it. There's, you know, U.S. ships shooting down missiles in the Red Sea and people saying like, let's go get that. Like, hold on.
Go. You want to go? Go to a recruiting office. You know, I don't, but we can, but that's a conflict. How long has that been going on? That conflict between Palestine and Israel? Since the creation of time?
It's going back a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And what, we're going to solve it now because we have iPhones and TikTok? Like, we're going to insert ourselves into what? Another never-ending conflict? I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some involvement. What is happening is horrible. You know, they were showing up at EDM festivals, right? Like, people were just outside. Like, Israel as a whole is a first world country, and people forget that. People forget that, like, they have the Iron Dome. It's a system that's made to shoot rockets out of the sky because it happens so regularly. They had to create something for it. Like, that's the world they live in. And, you know, that was a terrorist act. Killing people, beheading children, all the things that have happened, all the reports. You know more than me. You're literally looking into hell every day you get on your phone, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we just have to really understand what we're about to do, and I don't know. I don't know why we seem so removed from the consequences.
It feels like we've got a lot of folks, the internet warriors. Let's go get them. And who knows what represents that. But it also feels like we've got some folks in the upper levels of government that are also itching to get back into a war. And it's this middle ground of people, I wish with louder voices, saying like, let's... Because, you're asking what comes next in Ukraine. Like, I have no idea, man. That's the problem. They're killing each other. And the minute that the killing starts, it is so hard to stop. Like, that's the problem with war. Like, you could go any direction right now. So, like, how about we just don't get to the point where we're killing each other? Probably have more options.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there. And real quickly, as we're wrapping up, and again, thank you so much for your time. What's something that you want people to take away from this? I think you might have even just said it, but like if you could have something from all the content you're making, and I really do love it. I can't stress it enough, because like you're always like, this is what it is, this is what's happening, that's it. And there's little things you do to like shore up your credibility, and it's stuff like, here's the actual translation, like, and you're like, I know you had to be like, like you had to like actually go through it to verify it, and I appreciate that about you. But if you could if you give someone a takeaway from this, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to understand about Preston Stewart?
Yeah, hadn't thought a lot about that, but you're right. Kind of
about
the last few minutes.
The work that you're doing. What do you want them to know? Right.
That war is not fun. War is not enjoyable. I don't enjoy it. I don't try. I hope that it's not glorifying it, but I think we have to discuss it, and we have to show what's going on in order to avoid it going forward. We can't. I think during Iraq and Afghanistan at times it wasn't in the news, and people didn't know what was going on, and it was really easy for us to stay there for 20 years. And I think if we can bring it forward and show that, like, hey, there's kids getting killed, there's young fathers, mothers being killed. It sucks to see that sometimes, but maybe that'll keep us from doing it more in the future.
Damn. I couldn't say anything better, so I dare not try. Preston, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and, catch you next time.